Hello everyone. Today is Saturday, but this probably won't go out until Monday. I'm hoping to make Mondays my Autism Diaries days because then I can call them Mad Monday. Could have come up with a better title, but anyway. This morning I went to the second group therapy because I think we'd done it before. We kind of knew what to expect. It was much more relaxed this time. A lady who was there last week wasn't there this week, but there was another lady who couldn't make it last week. She was there this week, and I got on really, really well with her. One of the other ladies who actually sat next to you last time, again, we assumed exactly the same seats as we did last time. We chatted a lot more. We did something to do with mindfulness as well. That's one thing I wanted to touch upon. There's something about CBT. They do a lot of mindfulness exercises, I suppose. Some of them I think may work, but I have to say the whole thing of tensing your muscles and relaxing and taking deep breaths, it's never worked for me, ever. It just makes me dizzy. It doesn't do anything to help the situation in which I find myself. They played this like I suppose audio, and the assistant psychologists, they were sitting there doing the exercises, and some of us were, but some of us were going, I suppose it's, just because we're autistic doesn't mean that we're all going to find the same therapy beneficial, because we're just as different as everybody else, really. I think mindfulness is a good thing for many people, but I'm not someone who buys into philosophical things very well. I like things to be practical. The whole purpose of this mindfulness exercise was to relax us and to ground us and make sure that we can think more clearly, not so much about things that worry us. I find taking time away from the situation, if you can, that really does help me personally. I think the best thing that audio could have done was read me a story, even if it's just the story of Little Red Riding Hood or Jack and the Beanstalk or whatever, something to take my mind off it, because sometimes when I take my mind off something and then come back into where the problem was, I look at it with a much calmer perspective, a much more logical, reasoning perspective. Whereas before, when you're so wrapped up in something you're worried about, you can't see the clearer picture because this big fog descends and you can't find your way through. I've often likened it to if I'm in a room full of cardboard boxes, they're all empty, so I can wade through them quite well, but they're shifting all over the place, and I've got to find that one cardboard box with the right answer in it, and it's not easy. What we were talking about in the meeting today was all about worrying and anxiety and about how mindfulness can help. But the whole thing about worrying and anxiety sort of made me think a little bit, because you often go from one conclusion to the other, and what we did find, especially from last week, is that autistic people will sometimes, I mean, I do this, find it hard to identify what an emotion is. Can't tell whether it's sadness, anger, being disheartened, or hurt. Sometimes all we can tell is whether it's positive or whether it's negative. And that's why we find it difficult to express our needs and emotions, because we don't understand what's going on in our own head. Instead of thinking, right, for example, the example they used was you get up in the morning and you miss your bus. You get all these negative feelings, or can you put a name to those negative feelings? Are you angry with yourself? Are you sad that you won't get to see something that you wanted to see because of missing the bus, etc.? Well, we don't know what that is. All we know is that it's a negative emotion and that it leads to physical symptoms such as an increased heart rate, heavy breathing, feeling sort of confused and disorientated, sometimes shaking. But if you take the emotion out of it and say, right, missing the bus has made me feel these physical symptoms, what can I do to stop feeling those physical symptoms? And sometimes trying to break that cycle may be the best thing to do, and practicing a mindfulness exercise while feeling that way will often make you step out of the situation and look at it as if you were somebody external looking into the situation. I am a huge worrier, and I've been told all my life that I am. And the ladies in the group, we found that the similarity with that was uncanny. We were all worrying people. We worried about a lot of stuff. We thought, well, this and this and this and this and this, and then thinking of the worst thing that can happen. And because we don't know what would happen, so anything could happen, but it's always negative. You always think of the worst thing, and in some ways it's trying to solve a problem. It made me think that us autistic people throughout everything we've been in our lives, we have conditioned ourselves, or we've trained ourselves, or the world has conditioned or trained us to be problem solvers, because to us almost everything is a problem that needs to be solved in some way, shape, or form. Usually, if I stop myself feeling anxious and I look at it from a logical perspective, I can usually find the way through it. I can usually find an answer. I can usually find a way of at least um, mitigating the negative things that happen as a result of something, because I always think there's always a way that you can solve something. Maybe that's why people with autism like mathematics and sort of looking at things factually, because we're trying to find things out and trying to find answers to questions all the time. And sometimes if you've got nothing to worry about and if you've got nothing to be flustered about, you will look for things to worry about and be flustered about. You will look for problems to solve them. And one thing about being autistic is that you have an intense need to focus on something hard, and sometimes just reading a book is a problem, because the problem is you haven't read the book yet. You need to get to the end, and that's the problem solved, and then you move on to the next problem. Becoming interested in something and then working it out does actually give, at least it gives me, a really good sense of achievement, especially if I've been able to solve a problem that's been bothering me for some time, or it's causing somebody else anxiety. And then when I'm done with that, then I think, what have I got to do now? Maybe it's boredom. You know, problem solving is one way of alleviating boredom. Remember what I said before about identifying emotions? I'd love to be able to identify my emotions, but from a lifetime of not being able to always pinpoint what I'm feeling, I'm not so bothered about that. In a way, that's a problem that will never be resolved, but I'm okay with that not being resolved. If I know something's positive or negative, I don't have to think about in what context is it positive or negative, because I was saying, but then I'm thinking about my emotion, I'm thinking about what it is, and then I'm thinking about, well, why am I feeling that way? You know, you go on a train of thought about, you worry about something and it causes you an emotion, which you also worry about because you can't pinpoint your emotion, and then you know it's sometimes best to leave the emotion on one side. Right, it's negative. What do I do about it? Anyway, that's basically all I have to say for this one. I know it's not quite as informative as last time, but yeah, I really enjoyed this particular meeting, and I've got 4 more to go. Um, not looking forward to them ending, actually. I'd quite like to sort of have it as an ongoing thing, sort of like almost as a regular meeting. I think I've met a few women there with whom I may make friends with, but you know, hey, watch this space. Thank you very much for watching this again, and thank you very much, little berries. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Mwah.